Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating, highly structured marketing narrative. You know, we all scroll through our feeds, right? And we get hit with dozens of these miracle cures and health breakthroughs every single day. But what makes us actually stop and click? Well, today we're looking at a supplement called Metabolic. It positions itself as a revolutionary weight loss solution. And whether you're into health supplements, marketing psychology, or just weird biological theories, the way this source material presents its claims is incredibly methodical. It's honestly captivating. So let's dive right in and decode exactly how they build this argument from the ground up to grab your attention.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, the search for GLP-1. 2, metabolic imprisonment. 3, phases of cell blockade. 4, the 3-phase liberation system. And finally, number 5, the 11 active ingredients.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the search for GLP-1 and the market for natural alternatives.
To capture your attention right out of the gate, the source text anchors itself to a massive cultural phenomenon. We're talking about weight loss injections. The promotional material instantly taps into this profound sense of public frustration, and they do it by dropping a highly specific figure, 93%. They claim that 93% of German women over 35 are actively denied prescription weight loss injections. Doctors refuse them, wait lists are endless, the costs are totally exploding, you get the idea. But why start there? It's a classic marketing technique. By highlighting a massive failure rate in standard medical care, it validates the consumer's past frustrations. It sets up this perfect us versus the medical establishment dynamic, framing a desperate market that's locked out of modern medical miracles.
Then they hit you with a highly targeted what-if question. They introduce Metabolic not just as some run-of-the-mill diet pill, but as the natural, side-effect-free alternative to those expensive injections. The marketing copy alleges that researchers have unlocked a way to trigger the exact same biological pathways naturally. They claim this can literally reprogram your body's satiety software right from your own kitchen. It's a super powerful setup, right? They're promising all the benefits of a global medical trend, but completely stripping away the access barriers and the needles.
Which leads us right into the core of their pitch in Section 2, Metabolic Imprisonment and the core biological claim.
Seeing how the source transitions from that emotional hook into a complex biological theory is really interesting. They introduce this concept called metabolic imprisonment. According to the text, which by the way, cites supposed warnings from Stanford researchers, this is a silent biochemical blockade that begins right around age 30. The claim here is that years of stress, processed foods, and environmental toxins cause your cells to interpret their environment as a literal existential threat. So what happens? In an act of misguided self-defense, your cells just go into full lockdown. They supposedly stop absorbing nutrients, stop producing energy, and completely stop burning fat. And to really drive home the severity of this theory, they emphasize the massive scale of the problem. They claim that 37 billion cells are currently locked down and actively working against you. The source uses a really vivid analogy for this. They compare your body to a highly advanced smart home. For years, everything worked perfectly, right? But then an invisible alarm was tripped, and the smart home went into an emergency lockdown mode. Just imagine the windows shuttering, the deadbolt sliding into place, the security system blaring, all triggered by a false alarm. You aren't just aging, the text argues. You are literally a prisoner in your own body. What this does is shift the blame entirely away from your willpower and onto a biochemical malfunction.
So, how does this actually play out over time? Let's look at Section 3, Phases of Cell Blockade and a Timeline of Decline.
The source material brilliantly builds this idea of imprisonment into a highly personalized chronological narrative. They break it all down into 5 distinct phases. And look at how they attach specific, relatable frustrations to each age bracket. Between 25 and 30, it's the invisible alarm. You're a bit tired, but you just blame it on stress. By 30 to 35, the silent barriers rise up, and those nasty 3 p.m. cravings become chronic. Moving into your late 30s, emergency mode sets in, bringing that stubborn belly fat. In your early 40s, it's prison consolidation. This is where you gain weight even if you're eating less than a skinny colleague. And finally, at 45 plus, you hit metabolic paralysis, where the text claims absolutely every single diet attempt is doomed to fail. By attaching these specific frustrations to exact ages, it creates the Barnum effect. It makes almost every single reader feel like their highly specific personal struggle is being explicitly seen and diagnosed.
Now that the problem is thoroughly established, they offer the cure in Section 4, the 3-phase liberation system and the proposed biochemical cure.
Having established this dire cellular lockdown, the text brings in the fix,
And true to form, it is highly systematic. The promotional material claims you can't just shock a locked cell into working. You can't just kick the door down. You have to meticulously pick the lock. So, they propose a sequential 3-phase liberation protocol. Phase 1 focuses on softening the cell barriers during the first 3 weeks. Phase 2 spans days 22 to 60 and aims to pry open the nutrient channels. And then Phase 3 is the long-term maintenance stage, designed to permanently prevent the cells from ever locking down again. It perfectly gives the illusion of a structured medical treatment plan.
Let's break down Phase 1. The source text assigns very specific mechanical roles to its ingredients. During this initial 21-day period, the goal is softening prison doors. The key ingredients here are alpha-lipoic acid and green tea extract. And the marketing copy uses such a brilliant visual analogy for this. They claim these ingredients act exactly like spraying WD-40 onto a rusty lock. The idea is that these compounds penetrate hardened cell membranes, lubricating them and making them flexible and permeable again. It tells a great story, right? The biochemical rescue mission can finally begin because the rust has been cleared away.
Moving into Phase 2, which they call opening nutrient highways, the mechanics get even more specific. Here, berberine is introduced as the master switch. The text claims it activates AMPK, which is an enzyme pathway, and that effectively opens the locked glucose channels from the inside out. But just opening the door isn't enough, right? You got to keep it open. That's where chromium comes in. The text literally describes chromium as a biochemical doorstop. It supposedly wedges those insulin receptors into an open position to stop cravings in their tracks and instantly stabilize blood sugar. It's an incredibly vivid way to conceptualize what are otherwise just dry, boring chemical processes.
Finally, we reach Phase 3, permanent blockade prevention. This is for day 61 and beyond. The source material brings in milk thistle, describing it as a liver cleaner meant to detoxify your metabolic command center. Alongside it is resveratrol, which the text elevates to a fountain of youth activator. They claim it genetically rejuvenates your cells and switches on longevity genes. The crucial point of this phase in the marketing narrative isn't actually just about weight loss. It's about selling absolute, permanent peace of mind. They want to assure the consumer that once those metabolic doors are forced open, they will never, ever slam shut again. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the 11 active ingredients, and how they claim precision engineering beats the competition.
What makes this source text so engaging is how it essentially casts its ingredients as characters in a metabolic heist movie. I mean, look at this. You have berberine starring as the master switch, the guy breaking into the vault. You have apple cider vinegar assigned to appetite control, which they claim mathematically slows stomach emptying by exactly 23%. You have cayenne acting as the muscle, the guard, burning an extra 50 kilocalories daily to keep the channels hot. And Bonabelief is brought in as the tactical expert, the glucose GPS, supposedly directing stray sugars safely into muscle tissue instead of letting them turn into fat cells. Giving ingredients a specific persona like this is just an incredibly visual and memorable way to explain a complex supplement formulation. To completely distance itself from competitors, the source uses one of its absolute best analogies right here. It contrasts its 11-ingredient synergistic system with standard single-ingredient supplements. The text argues that trying to boost your metabolism with standard supplements when your cells are in lockdown is completely useless. They say it's exactly like slamming your foot on the gas pedal while the handbrake is still pulled tight. You're just burning out the engine. Metabosana, they claim, doesn't press the gas, it releases the handbrake. It's an analogy that perfectly validates any past dietary failures for the reader, and it positions this specific product as the only logical next step.
Bringing it all together, the promotional material culminates in a cascade of promises. It's not just about weight loss anymore, though they do explicitly claim users can wake up 15 kilos lighter in 90 days. The text promises a total systemic overhaul. We're talking deeper and more restful sleep, sharp mental focus totally free of brain fog, natural portion control, and ultimately a self-regulating metabolism. And remember, this entire list of magical results is framed as being achieved entirely naturally, without those expensive, hard-to-get prescriptions and injections we talked about at the very beginning. They paint a picture of a body that has finally ended its biochemical rebellion and returned to a state of youthful harmony.
So, we arrive at the final provocative thought presented by the source. The text leaves the reader with a stark binary choice. Are you going to remain trapped in metabolic imprisonment, just accepting frustration and exhaustion as a normal part of aging? Or are you ready to take the biochemical emergency exit,
Regardless of the actual scientific validity of the claims, which, let's be honest, are clearly crafted for maximum commercial impact, the way this source material constructs its narrative of imprisonment and liberation is an absolute masterclass in structured persuasion. It gives a name to the problem, it offers a highly mechanical solution, and it builds a compelling story that feels intensely personal. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the narratives behind the science you read, and I'll see you next time.